Man Catch, which is already amazing. God, fucking, this is so bad. From her table by the window inside the bustling Starbucks, Kate could see clear across the crowded parking lot and the traffic-snarled interstate to where the setting sun turned the San Bernardino Mountains into looming ghosts on the near horizon. This also takes place pretty much where I grew up, because San Bernardino Mountains is right by Riverside. That makes it 1,000 times more awful. After giving her his laptop computer, Rick had disappeared into the shopping mall next door. She assumed he was ensconced in the racks of orders. That doesn't, no. He's not a light fixture in the... Nope, doesn't happen. Perusing books on fishing or hunting, or one of the other strangely adult hobbies. Strangely? Is that really? Never mind. He had picked up from his father following high school graduation. This was going to be their first trip alone together. 3 days at a cabin near Lake Arrowhead. 3 days without parents checking to make sure they were sleeping in separate beds. I forgot about that, but what? How? Never mind. In less than a month, they would be at different colleges. Every hour they spent together was too precious to be wasted in traffic. Even though her boyfriend had insisted otherwise, Kate was confident they could find an alternate route to the cabin. As soon as she typed in the first 2 letters of MapQuest, she uses MapQuest, by the way. MapQuest. The browser on Rick's computer automatically completed the address with the closest match from its list of recently visited sites. www.mancatch.com. I love that you're already hyperventilating. That's a proper reaction for what you should be doing right now. Convinced was a website that taught, are you ready? Lazy jocks like Rick how to manage their finances. What? I clicked on the entry. The screen filled with an image of a muscular, half-naked Latino man reclining on a white bedspread, one hand draped over the giant bulge in his white briefs. Well, that would have been much more fun. According to the flashing pink banner above the man's head. I love things that describe the internet. ManCatch was the #1 site for man-on-man action in the country. She almost laughed out loud. Surely Rick had visited the site by mistake. Then she saw that the computer had been set to remember usernames and passwords. Not a surprise, since Rick had made it through 4 years of high school without memorizing a single locker combination. She's really trying desperately hard to justify this. The username in the entry blank was Soaks Guy. S. Oaks had to mean Sherman Oaks, the San Fernando Valley suburb where they had both grown up. The browser's history list told her that Rick had visited ManCatch the night before at 1:30 a.m. when she had believed him to be asleep beside her, at her house, in her bed. Her breath short and ragged, Kate clicked the log-in button before she could convince herself not to. Suddenly, she was scrolling through profiles for ManCatch members in which each man spelled out his sexual tastes in a coded language that combined hip-hop affectations with the shorthand her girlfriends used to pass notes in class when they were in grade school. And here's the example of it. Looking for hung dudes. You can play, step to the front. HIV negative here, you be too. Someone wrote these down. Most profiles were accompanied by a photo. The first few were harmless enough, mostly shots of bare, muscular chests, the heads cropped out, making the subject look like a Greek statue in lousy lighting. Then came several preposterously large erections. A chair scraped the floor behind her. A silently furious mother was dragging her toddler-aged son toward the exit. When the woman looked back and saw that it was seemingly a normal teenage girl who had just exposed her child to such filth, she looked both wounded and baffled, as if her tiny son had just flipped her the bird. Brilliant metaphor. Humiliated, Kate scrolled up until the most offensive photographs were out of frame, which is what I do with Tumblr all the time in public. It is fucking Russian roulette with gay porn. She didn't make sense of what she was seeing. According to the history list, Rick had only made one visit to the site in the past 3 weeks, but the username and password suggested he planned. But the username and password suggested he planned on becoming a regular. Why then had he let her borrow his computer without a second's pause? Maybe he was a regular and had just deleted all evidence of his other visits, except for this one. Nothing fires the imagination like betrayal. No, I can think of no. In digital clarity, she suddenly saw Rick in only his paisley boxers, backing silently out of the half-open door to her room, holding his laptops in both hands, as if it were literally the Holy Grail. That's another sentence a human being wrote. Her eyes locked on something she had missed. On the left-hand side of the screen, there was a long menu bar. It was clear Rick might be a regular. Now she could find out if he had made any man friends. When she clicked on the buddy list button, only one name came up. Fun for Right Now, spelled R-T-N-O-W. Next to the name was a photograph of a short, muscular, brown-haired guy laying face down on his bed. She thought he was naked at first, but then she saw the red waistband of a jock's back. I don't even know what I just said. Jock's strap tucked beneath the exposed cheeks of his beautiful ass. I'm now going to read you the text that Christopher Rice wrote for this ad. Hot jock looking to play. Are you game? 5'11", 156, 27, 90 inches cut in Studio City here. Into young and old, you just gotta be fit. Got it? And then in parentheses, fit equals workout 4 times a week or more. And you have to be hot. No fats, phlegms. I don't know what a phlegm is. And this is a common thing in gay dating ads. It's no fats, no femmes, no fakes, which is blah, shut up. But I don't know what a phlegm is. Does anyone know what that is? Any gay people want to out themselves? Is that a... See, and then afterwards it says flake, so it's not even like a flaky femme. They made a portmanteau. No time wasters, no hard partiers. I'm into porn, role play, lots oral. Be clean, be cool, see you soon. Human being wrote that too. The photo did not shock her. But the nakedness of the man's request turned her stomach. Isn't this super homophobic? Anyway, then it occurred to her that she was reading the wrong profile. Are you ready for this? She was about to type Soak Sky in search blank when something slammed into the window just above her head. Rick was plastered to the glass as if he had just been hurled against it by a nightclub bouncer. When he stumbled back a few steps, he was too busy laughing to himself to notice the expression on Kate's face. So I was talking to my aunt on the phone, he boomed as he approached her table. She says there's this awesome pond, like half a mile from the cabin. Totally easy hike, too. He slammed down into the chair opposite hers and flattened his mess of black curls with his palm. She says it's so cool at sunrise, because the sun comes up like right over... Jesus, are you all right, Kate? Kate turned the laptop so Rick could see it. He jerked back from the screen as if he had been stung by a bee. Then his sleepy eyes turned to slits and his upper lip tensed. He sucked in a deep, pained breath. Last night, she said, 1:30, I was asleep. I thought you were too. I was, he said. Your computer says you were right here, she said, tapping the top of the monitor for emphasis. Is it lying, Rick? He kept shaking his head and studying the screen in front of him as if his best defense could be found. I don't even understand the sentence, so I'm just going to skip it. For the 2 years they had been together, she had consistently studied the way he acted around other girls, searched for smiles that might look like invitations, friendly pats on intimate body parts. She had been doing the wrong homework all along. His eyes met hers. It wasn't me, Kate, he whispered. Then who was it who used your computer? His mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. I bet air came out, so that's not true. He chewed his lower lip and brought one hand to the bridge of his nose. If he wasn't about to choke on his guilt, she certainly was. Why? That's what? She pulled the laptop's power cord from the socket and scooped up both items up off the table. She was several paces from her forerunner when he caught up with her. The second his hand met her shoulder, she whirled, lifting the computer like a baseball bat.
What?
That's not a thing that happened. Swinging it around her in a wide arc. For a split second, she wasn't sure how hard she had hit him. Then he hit the pavement, ass first, blood from his nostrils, painted all over his lips. Before she pulled out of the parking lot, she checked to see if she had run him over. When she saw him struggling to his feet, she felt a dull sense of relief. You're not even to the best part of this fucking thing. The interior rearview mirror offered a view of Rick's bulging duffel bag. Did you have to use the word bulging? Bulging duffel bag lying across the back seat. After the 4th call from him, she killed the ringer on her cell phone. She called her father. Her father would fix this. Her father would beat Rick. Again, this was supposed to be his edgy progressive story. Her father would beat Rick within an inch of his life and find a way to blame his injuries on a strong wind. Again, supposed to be a progressive story. A gay man wrote this. That morning, as she was packing, He told her he'd be entertaining client. Oh God, I'm almost to the best part. He would be entertaining clients late. It had seemed like an irrelevant detail at the time. Her dad liked to have a female assistant leave his greeting message, so Kate couldn't even take comfort in her father's soothing baritone voice. At the sound of the tone, her eyes misted, and her throat clogged in sadness. She hung up. Her mother had flown to a convention in San Francisco 2 days before, where she was no doubt lecturing her fellow real estate agents on how to get ahead in life by sucking the air out of every room you entered. What? I don't know. I don't understand half of this, but it's amazing. Her mother couldn't find out about this. She would just find a way to make it Kate's fault. Surely Kate had missed something, some vital sign that her boyfriend was screwing other guys he met online. Surely Kate could have planned for this contingency. Could you? No, that's not Her mother loved plans. Right now, Kate's plan was to get home and crawl under the covers until her father arrived. In downtown LA, she hit a procession of brake lights and spent the next 2 hours in the slow crawl of chromium heading into the valley on the 101 freeway. That's actually canon. Anyway, that's LA's office. It was a little past midnight when she reached her house, a Cape Cod style cottage that sat on a meandering street at the base of the foothills. There's no meandering streets in LA, by the way. There was a good chance Rick might get a ride back from one of his friends and come looking for her, so Kate parked a block away and around the corner. When Kate opened the front door, the alarm system let out a short burst of beeps. She was at the panel, ready to punch in the code, when the beeps stopped. Not a warning that the siren was about to go off, just the perimeter alert that sounded every time a door or window in the house was open. The house was dark. Her father had left without remembering to set the thing. That wasn't normal. This isn't a thriller thing, so this is the thriller part of the story. Y'all are fucking, it's great. Her heart was racing. Even though she had been sitting in traffic for most of it, the drive home had left her feeling as if she had run a marathon. I ran a marathon, not the same thing. The door to her father's office was half open. The mess of papers on his desk didn't look right. His computer was missing. You figured it out, didn't you? That morning, her father had said something about her mother taking the PC into the shop before she left town so that she could get the hard drive whipped. She wanted to buy him a new one and give the thing to her own mother as a Christmas gift. About half of you just figured this out. So now that her eyes had adjusted to the darkness, she could make out a weak flickering light on the walls around her. It came from the second floor. At the end of the second floor... Don't shake your head yet. At the end of the second floor hallway, the door to her parents' bedroom was half open. She could see a spread of tea candles on top of the cadenza.
Oh, God.
I told you. There were many more that she couldn't see. They filled the entire bedroom with a ghostly luminescence. Whoever was in the bedroom had heard her come in and not blown out a single candle. The thought loosened the knot of fear in her chest. Maybe her father was in the tub. Again, that's something that doesn't make her nervous. God, I can't wait to see him naked in the tub. It's going to be so nice. Gently, she pushed open the door to her parents' bedroom. She was about to call out to her father when she saw a different man, lying face down across the bed. A dark stain curling out from under his head across the tan comforter. You thought you knew what this was. He was stocky and muscular, and she could just make out his shirt cap of brown hair. Again, she thought he was naked until she noticed the red band of a jockstrap tucked under his beautiful ass. Hours earlier, she had seen the picture of this very man on her boyfriend's computer screen, and she almost whispered the words, "Fun for right now." Oh God, this is a national treasure. Put this shit in the museum. Before Kate could scream, a patch of darkness stepped forward from the bathroom door and lifted one arm in her direction. The silhouette seemed vaguely familiar at first. Then Kate saw that her mother had tucked her long hair inside the back of her black sweater. It made a misshapen lump on the back of her head. The guilt hit first. Kate saw the wide-eyed shock on Rick's face when she had confronted him. She had misread his pain breaths and wide-eyed fear as signs of guilt, when all the while Rick had known the truth and been afraid to tell her. Then she saw the two of them asleep in her bed just down the hall as her father padded silently out of her room with Rick's laptop in his hands. Yep, half of you just figured it. Because her own computer was in the shop, Kate tried to see through the halo of candlelight around the man's body, tried to detect some small moment that indicated life. "Is he dead?" she asked. "Would you like to hear what they did together? One time, I was away. You were asleep. In the yard, Kate. They did it in the yard while you were sleeping." A car slowed outside, then turned up the driveway, tires crunching gravel. Her father was home, and Kate had walked right into a trap her mother had set for her own father. Not her. Once I explain, you'll understand, Kate. I spent days talking to this young man, days finding out what he and your father did together. Once you hear, Kate, once you know, it will be very hard for you to be Daddy's little girl anymore. Again, very progressive story, totally not homophobic. Kate bolted from the room. Halfway down the steps, she lost her balance. The hardwood floor at the foot of the stairs rose up to meet her face. That's not how gravity works. The impact knocked the wind out of her. She lifted herself up onto all fours. A shadow dimmed the strips of leaded glass on either side of the front door. Keys rattled against the lock outside. "Kate," her mother said quietly and firmly. Kate could hear the challenge in her mother's voice. Maybe if she just let her explain, maybe she could understand. Maybe then she wouldn't have to risk her own life for a father who was guilty of the indiscretions she had just accused her boyfriend of. As soon as a crack of light appeared around the edge of the front door, Kate rose to her knees and hurled the front door shut. Heard her father let out a surprised grunt, steeling herself for the gunshot she was sure would come next. Kate dropped to the hardwood floor. "Well," her mother said quietly, "looks like you've made your choice." Kate heard the door to the master bedroom close. There was a quick, sharp sound that Kate couldn't place. It was a movie sound. Hermione groped to give that sound a word. Then she realized what it was. Silencer. By then, Kate's father was standing over her, his jacket slung over one arm and his tie loose, his head cocked to one side, like a puppy. As he tried to make sense of the scene before him and the strange sound that had just come from his bedroom. Kate didn't explain any of it for him. She let him go upstairs and discover the scene for himself, just as her mother had intended. The end. Enjoy it.